So, Aaron David, let's go to you now because you interviewed Jimmy Carter several times. Give me a sense of what comes to mind when you reflect on all those meetings.
You know, my interest in Carter stemmed from my own interest in the Middle East. And when I interviewed him the first time at the Carter Center, I asked him why Arab-Israeli peace, Middle East was so important. And his answer was extraordinary. And I quote, "Since the age of 3, the Holy Land has been an intense focus of my religion and certain aspects of that religion." So I think Carter's moralism, his faith, drove him. Because in 1977, there was no reason, neither an opportunity nor a crisis, that would impel or propel an American president to become interested in what Carter managed ultimately to achieve, which no American president will ever be able to best. And that is, he brokered an agreement between Israel and the largest, most powerful, and most politically resonant Arab state, Egypt. He didn't get the Palestinian piece of it, but Carter's diplomacy would open the door and make it possible for Jordan and even the Gulf states over the last 4 years to enter into formal diplomatic relations with the state of Israel. So it was a signal accomplishment, and I think it's a testament, frankly, to his drive, his smarts, and his commitment.
I think commitment in particular, I mean, the drive, the smarts, yes, he had to have those, but he was relentless in his pursuit of this. There are many, many stories about it. When you think about two enemies being brought together, what kinds of things did he do that were wholly attributable to him uniquely to get this done?
Yeah. You know, personal relationships are important in Arab-Israeli peacemaking. They don't trump the national interest, but they are necessary, but not necessarily sufficient. He established quite remarkable relationships with two powerful leaders. He told me that meeting Anwar Sadat, which was done before Camp David in 1978, was the greatest day of his presidency, and he bonded with Sadat. I mean, I think Sadat was willing to put his faith and trust in Carter. With Begin, with Menachem Begin, the relationship was more contentious. But here again, despite his advisors who argued during Begin's first visit to Washington that he should be tough and exert pressure, Carter chose not to create a relationship based on mutual respect. And Carter told me, and he's made this comment publicly, that the lift for Begin to get to Camp David, to make peace with Egypt, was actually harder. It's a harder journey than the one Sadat embarked on. And that's quite a statement, given the fact that Sadat paid for his life with his peacemaking. So again, personal trust was critically important.
You know, and it's extraordinary because this happened in 1978. I know you spoke with former President Clinton about the success of what happened in 1978, and it did not happen when he attempted to broker similar conclusions, deals, if you will, in 2000. What was his explanation for that? What did he attribute to Jimmy Carter that led to the success that he wasn't able to achieve?
I mean, I was at that second Camp David summit in July of 2000, where despite the commitment and incredible personal drive of then President Clinton, no agreement was reached. I think Carter had at least two advantages. Number one, he had two leaders, Sadat and Begin, who were masters of their politics, not prisoners of those politics, number one. And number two, unlike at the second Camp David, Carter really ran the summit. I'm sorry to say, and I've made this criticism public, and I put myself at the top of the list in bearing responsibility for this. At the second Camp David summit, the summit ran us. We didn't run the summit. And finally, Carter had the advantage of not dealing with issues like Jerusalem or refugees. That made the lift at Camp David, one, much easier, frankly, however difficult it was, than what we failed to achieve at Camp David 2.
Yeah, sounds like things just got more complicated over a span of 22 years, understandably.
Always.
Aaron David, it's very good to see you. A happy New Year to you. Thank you so much.